Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at something extremely exciting. This right here is the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom Gundam, and of course, this is by Bandai. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobby Link Japan, so if you do want some gunpla of your own, I'll throw that link down there in the description. Now, I have to say I'm absolutely floored by just how awesome this kit is right here. This is a lot different than what we would have seen with the last Master Grade Extreme, which was the Unicorn Gundam with the full light-up, color-changing LEDs inside of it. That was its extreme point. The extreme point in this particular kit right here is, well, essentially paint. I know at first that doesn't necessarily sound that extreme, but it's really the color separation, the part separation, and all the amount of tech that Bandai have pumped into this mini masterpiece right here. This has a lot in common with the Perfect Grade RX-78-2 Unleashed. It's got the same metal stickers, the plastic stickers. The build-up is done in a bunch of phases. That's phase 1 being the inner frame, phase 2 being the wings, phase 3 being the armor, and phase 4 being the weapons. This is one hell of an event, and I highly recommend it. Gundarium tier straight out of the gate. There's a couple of things I'd mildly complain about this, but not a lot. Let's get right on into it. Anyway, but before we do that, I did ask you guys in the unboxing of this particular kit right here to ask me any questions you want answered during this review, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my usual review template, which is the build, aesthetics, accessories, and articulation template, and I'm going to shove the questions in between all of those. So let's start with some questions. So a lot of you guys asked about the gold, which I guess does make sense considering it is the extreme point of this kit right here, and the main question is, what about those nubs? And just in case you don't know why someone would ask that sort of question, the reason is a lot of the gold on this kit is painted, and we've seen time and time again with painted kits like the Phoenix, when you chop these out, you're going to get a lot of pock marks all over the kit. Basically, when you're just like snipping your bits, there's going to be the color underneath. In this situation right here, what it is a yellow plastic underneath, a very fragile one, I might add. I don't know how Bandai actually plates their kits, but they plate it on the most fragile plastic around that is very easy to break. Must be part of the process. However, this is on no critical functional parts of the kit. Now, I've scoured this kit for nubs, and thankfully there hasn't been any. They're all undergated, so that means any of the parts that you actually snip off of this end up underneath the parts or underneath the armor. However, what we do actually get in here, which I'm a little bit shocked by, a little bit disappointed by, is mold lines. Now, these are quite prevalent all over the place. You can see them here as well, and that means usually with the kit, you'd actually just file or sand these away to get rid of them, but if you do that, you will absolutely ruin the surface. So this is a minor issue you won't notice from a distance, but it is here if you're a perfectionist. Now, speaking to if Bandai have cut corners with the gold in this, I would say that they did not. I think they did the best they could with gold. All the painted parts are phenomenal. We've got the G-Runner then, which is like a kind of hard-wearing injection plastic. This cannot be scratched or have the surface destroyed in any sort of way. That is what is on all of the joints. So you can still move this around a lot and not scratch anything up. But the question I would have is, if you take something like the Hyakushiki right here now, I'm not sure, this is the Hyakushiki 2.0 by the way, I'm not sure how this will hold up over time. I feel like my Hyakushiki has faded a little bit. I might be full of it and it may not have. I always thought it was a little golder than it is right here, but if you ever take something like a gold car, they always look, well, debatably good at first, but they really do fade to a really weird color as the clear yellow on top of the silver underneath fades, so that could happen over time, but who knows. Anyway, into part 1. Let's talk about that build. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this review, this is built up in a 4-phase procedure, which is so much fun. That's, you build up the inner frame first, which is absolutely incredible looking. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. The amount of things put into this blows my mind. After that, then you build up the wings, then you build the armor onto the inner frame, which all works absolutely perfectly, looks gorgeous, and the last thing you do then is build the accessories. This is almost like the Perfect Grade Unleashed in its build and a lot of other aspects. This is impressive and so much fun. I did mention it in the unboxing, but now I finally got to try it out. This kit does come with a little bit of a runner stand. This worked out really well. This was great for general runner management. On top of that, the manual tells you what parts you need for each part of the build, so you never have much clutter on your desk, which is very, very nice for a very complex kit. It also has all the parts laid out in the runner in a smart way, so you're always snipping from the same area of a runner at a time for each body part, which is very, very nice. This is a nice, enjoyable, seamless build, and not too overly complex if you're thinking of jumping into the deep end and starting with this as your first. In general, the build of the inner frame is absolutely a phenomenal experience. It's just all the golds go together so well. The way they've undergated everything means you're getting no knobs. It all builds up perfectly. Even though some parts are painted, there's nothing sticky or hard to actually snap together. It just works like a dream. There's a lot of parts that layer over each other in a very smart sort of way, and you can really see how the articulation builds up inside of this, with a lot of moving parts and gimmicks, the likes of which Master Grade has not seen in quite some time. Now, most, if not all, Master Grades come with a pilot figure. This does too, but it's nice to see some actual pilot figures, the standing type, on the runners too. That I was super happy about. All of this kit does have color-accurate clear parts. For example, the blue parts in the head, you can see them right here once this is all put together. These two light pipe to a degree, and the only reason these are actually here is because I forgot to put the stickers on, but it gives us a chance to check out what it looks like with them off and with them on. So there's with these stickers on now, and I like the way these catch the light. And speaking of the stickers in here, the only real stickers we have in regard to color correcting in here aren't even color correcting. These are the plastic stickers that we've seen time and time again. I feel these really do elevate a kit to the next level. We've seen them with the Full Mechanics Kenbu, we've seen them with the Perfect Grade Unleashed Oryx 78-2, and these are like classic foil stickers, but they are a thick piece of plastic, so they look like a part, as opposed to just a sticker stuck on there. However, I will mention there's some of these that are a fraction of a millimeter in diameter. They're so tiny. And these don't have the greatest stick around. Most of them are recessed, so they kind of just hold in there. I'm not sure how much of a loss risk in future these will be, so they could end up flaking off. And when it comes to the other stickers in here, those are the metal ones. These are the metallic etched parts for detailing up the inside of the inner frame here. Now, these are the only thing I had an actual complaint about. These are on a very sticky sheet of what I can only describe as almost like green tinted plastic. You have to take the protective cover off, then remove the actual big bit of metal that is around all the etched parts, and you've got the etched parts left over on the backing in order to stick them on. Now, this green backing is not the adhesive side. This is the side that points out, and I found it ridiculously hard to actually remove the metal etched pieces without some of this green actually sticking to the surface. So you've got this green schmutz on the surface that honestly should not be there. We had parts like this in the Unleashed. I never found this as an issue, and on, well, trying to remove these, I found the best thing to use is a toothpick to scratch that crap off the surface of the etched parts. Now, it does come off, takes a little bit of effort, but that is the only real disappointing aspect about this kit to me. Besides that, there's nothing else. Just why did they use green crap? If they used any other crap, like clear crap, you mightn't even notice it. Strange choice. But yeah, when all is said and done, this is what the final snap together inner frame looks like, and I am blown away. Bandai knows what they're doing here once again. This is a relatively expensive kit, and with an inner frame this beautiful, you'd almost be tempted to grab two of these. Because I will mention, when you throw the actual armor on, you will block up and cover up a whole lot of this, even parts that have stickers added on. So you actually stick some of the plastic stickers on, and then you cover it. Bit strange. But yeah, this inner frame is absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. This thing looks like a 24 karat gold inner frame with jewels encrusted into it. This is one of the most ridiculous looking things I've ever seen. And this, in itself, is the extreme point. Not just the fact that this is painted, but it's color separated to hell and back, got etched parts, beautiful jewel stickers, and the whole thing just glints in the light. This is a shame to cover up, but it's about time we got it covered up. So phase 2 to building this is like building the backpack. This is a standard snap together Master Grade style backpack, undergated for the most part, no knobs showing up at all, and you do have to build 8 of the Dragoons for on this, which in a vacuum isn't so bad, except each Dragoon has 4 tiny millimeter in length stickers to attach to each of them. That is 4. Of course you could leave these off, but you won't get that cool jeweled effect, but this is the level of detail on here. These are tiny, it'll take a little while. Anyway, that right there is what it looks like once you've got phase 2 complete. That is the full finished inner frame with the backpack on. It's very nice the way you actually build this up in a step-by-step process, and now you've got the unarmored Strike Freedom with the full backpack. Of course it is a little bit back heavy yet because we don't have all the weight of the armor on it just yet, but so far this is a super light kit, very lightweight. Phase 3 then is the attachment of all of the armor onto the inner frame. Now this goes on super easily, you don't have to detach the robot apart to actually put it on. The manual says you can just slap it all on while it is attached together, but I say take it apart just to make sure everything is attached on perfectly. This goes on easy. Like I mentioned though, you will be hiding a lot of the detail, especially a lot of the detail you would have put time putting a lot of the stickers onto. But I have to say, between this and the perfect grade Oryx 78-2 Unleashed, I have to say this might be my favorite way to build a model kit. Building the entire inner frame first, and then donning all of that armor on afterwards. It's just a really nice, satisfying way to build. Finally then, phase 4 is the building of the weapons. I didn't take any footage of this because it was getting pretty late, but these are surprisingly simple with a lot of payoff, and we'll take a look at all of those later on. Now, it's time to take a look at the aesthetics. But first, more questions. So iCommit9741 asked how long did it take to build. Now, to get to this point, I have not added any of the panel lines or any of the decals just yet. This took me 2 solid days of building, which for me is way longer than your standard master grade, so hours-wise, 15, maybe? Piper Fox Official asked, how are the hips compared to the master grade Freedom 2.0? Now, these are fantastic. These are not the same at all. Now, in essence, they're a similar design, but these do not feel the same level of weakness. They don't have as much of a cutout on the actual nub right there. Peg. And they do feel, in general, a whole lot sturdier. So I'd say you don't have to worry about that. After building the Eclipse, I did notice that it was exactly the same and kind of weak feeling. But this isn't even tight. This is just as tight as a leg needs to be, no more. Now this right here is a fantastic question from Seraphim Volkrin. This is, how does a MGEX compare to a HiRM or a high-resolution model by Bandai? Because they are very similar in essence to their design, especially this particular kit right here, more so than the Unicorn. Now, the only high-res I've knocking around right now is the wing right here, but in a way, there's a lot of similarities. Now, taking the high-resolution Astray as an example right here, this does a lot of what this particular kit we're looking at today, the Master Grade Extreme, does, as in, it's a very detailed up version of a seed kit. It's got stocky proportion and it's over the top. You don't build the inner frame of it first, but it does come built and you build the armor on. A lot of this is very similar to what the Master Grade Extreme line does, especially this particular version today, the Strike Freedom. Now, the Strike Freedom demolishes it in every aspect. The actual built model kit inner frame is way better than anything from the high-resolution line, and the overall model kit is a way better kit and a way better finished model. And the thing is, visually, it blows it out of the water, so the Strike Freedom is definitely the hands-down winner compared to high-res. Now, high-res hasn't been around for quite some time. The last one was a bit of a reissue, which was the Powered Red. So what does that mean for the future of high-res? I would actually hope they'd scrap high-res entirely and just do more like the Master Grade Extreme right here. That would be my hope. I will also mention the plastic ride here on the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom is so much better than anything we would have ever seen on the high-res line. This had a lot of shiny, very brittle, easy to break plastic. This thing right here is absolutely a brick shithouse, and the plastic doesn't feel too inclined to break. The gold, which is plated, which of course is that much more brittle, well, it's not going to be taking any of the knocks. They put it in smart places. Well, it is on the inside and holding on the Dragoons, but we'll see later. So starting off the aesthetics with the full 360-degree spin. Now this right here is what this kit looks like with no additional effort. I double snipped everything with the God Hand, and that is all I did. No other cleanup at all. All of the knobs are hidden away out of sight forever because the vast majority of this kit is undergated, and I believe this might just be the most beautiful looking 1/100 scale kit I have ever laid my eyes on, hands down. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you take what the Strike Freedom looked like originally, in the anime, this definitely isn't anime accurate. This is like a whole different reimagining of what that kit would look like, and this has gone even beyond metal build in its absolute beautiful reconstruction of a mobile suit. This is amazing. Visually, there's just so much going on here, but if you even just break it down to the simple silhouette here, this looks powerful, ridiculous. Bandai have definitely made this a much buffer looking mobile suit than it would have been before, with the classic Master Grade, which we will compare this to very, very soon. And then the amount of detail upon detail upon detail poured into that is ridiculous. And that's not even talking about the aspects which move while this moves to give it even more when it's in a pose, which we'll take a look at soon too. Honestly, I have to say I'm absolutely flabbergasted, and one thing that you guys ask for a lot is some comparisons, especially to the classic Master Grade, so let's get it done. So over here on the left, this is today's review. This is the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom. Now over here on the right, this is the classic Master Grade, the standard Master Grade Strike Freedom, and there's a world of difference between these two. It's ridiculous. So when it comes to the older grade Master Grade Strike Freedom, this is by no means a bad kit. Sure, it's dated in a lot of ways, it has some weak ankles, has old school hands, and by modern standards is a bit on the basic side. It's still a nice kit. Bandai has always loved the Strike Freedom, but what we've got here is a whole different beast entirely. They've dialed every aspect of a model kit to 50. I mean, visually to 50, details to 50, types of plastic to 50, gold to maybe more than 50. But I mean, it's crazy, it's off the charts, it's ridiculous. The old Master Grade, well, it's a little bit standard in comparison. Let's spin them together. So one thing the brand new Master Grade Extreme is not is anime accurate. It's over the top entirely. Of course, if you think about it, there could be elements of the actual design that would never make it finally into an anime, because anime has to be relatively simple because, you know, people are drawing that stuff. And over and over and over and over again. So of course things will have to be simplified. So maybe at some point some of these aspects were part of the design, or in the creator's minds was part of the design, but obviously would be left out. But if you do want something that is more akin to what you actually see in the animation, then the old school version definitely would be that. But on the whole, when it comes to an actual build, model kit wise, the Extreme is Extreme, the regular, well, it's regular, as you'd expect. Both great kits, but if you want the one that's gonna blow your head right off of your neck, go for the Extreme. But wait, isn't there one more? What about the bootleg? Is in my first bootleg, the first ever knockoff Gundam that I ever bought and built, the one by, I think it's Deban. I'm not sure, I think it's Deban. There was nothing written on the box. I don't remember where I got it. I think it was Gundam Model Center. I don't remember the price, but yeah, it's got a metal inner frame. The build is not fun. The finished model kit is ridiculously over the top and cool, but I don't like to touch it because, you know, build not great out of box, but looks fantastic. It's basically a knockoff of the metal build by Bandai, and it looks a little something like this right here. Also a very over-the-top, come on, this thing's got no heels, okay. A very over-the-top model kit too. Well, how does it compare to the Master Grade Extreme right here? And the, well, answer is, visually it is a very nice kit once it's finished. Out of box it is quite nice to look at, but it's got absolutely nothing on the Master Grade Extreme. So the Master Grade Extreme even blows this out of the water with its overall look. Even though the metal build knockoff has a metal build inner frame, it doesn't look nearly as nice as the multi-gold Extreme Point inner frame from this kit. So even compared to that, it does look a whole lot nicer. However, the metal build design that the knockoff right here is knocking off is a lot more slender and a lot more dynamic, but the Extreme has that buff, ridiculously powerful looking aesthetic. So at the end of the day, it would be up to yourself which you prefer the look of. So D90Exia asked, I'd like to see a comparison with the Freedom 2.0. I feel the Strike Freedom is the upgrade to that one in terms of styling. I agree, let's check them out. So anyway, getting the Freedom 2.0 in there, and they definitely have a kind of matching style, a kind of almost like a redesign of the original Mecha with a little bit more detail. Of course, the Freedom 2.0 isn't as detailed as this, but there's still a lot of nice raised parts, detail, and everything on it. And still, to this day, besides the hips, it's one of my favorite Master Grades. It looks great. Zooming in on the faces there so you can see both of what they look like up super close, just because, you know, face, good, robots. And anyway, for a couple of standard size comparisons, there it is beside the RX 72 3.0 for a standard Gundam size comparison, and this I feel is a little bit taller than the standard Gundam or Strike Freedom. Next up there it is side by side with the Strike Remaster. Another awesome kit, by the way. The Master Grade Yakushiki 2.0 because, you know, gold. And the Master Grade Barbatos just because it was the closest thing to me. So now jumping in to take a look at some of the details on this, and details there are a lot, so let's move through them quite quickly. First off, Porakia Dracojin 3390 asked about the build of the head, so let's wind back a little bit about that. So the build of the head on this is actually quite simple, but at the same time very, very nice. This does have color separated eyes, which always makes me super happy. I will also mention if you find some parts really hard to handle, I always recommend just sticking a bit of blue tack on the end of one of your tools and just using that to place the parts. It makes it really easy for finicky bits like the mouth muzzle right here. But yeah, you've got a choice of eye colors too. You can have this right here, which is the gold, which I used because I believed it would catch the light nicely, which it does. But you also do have the choice of these right here, which are in a clear yellow. So you can have clear yellow or gold, but I went for the gold. But yeah, the part separation on the head of this kit is ridiculous. We've got the gold coming through on the Vulcans on the sides of the head. We've got multiple layers of the gold coming through from other layers. The light blue there on the fins in those intakes on the side of the head, those are color separated. And even that lovely bit of red underneath the eyes, the dark segment around the eyes, all of that is color separation. There is no sticker in there. Gorgeous. So one thing I did not know while building this kit is that the red segments on this kit, or at least a lot of them on the body, on the shoulders, as well as down on the crotch down there, these are all made out of clear parts. So look at that. That looks absolutely phenomenal. We've got some of the gold frame in underneath that. You can see the detail, the kind of grill section inside of that. That is beautiful. Actually, if I recall correctly, this one right here should be easy enough to pop off. Maybe not. Maybe I don't recall. Get the old Shar Aznable knife out in order to deal with that. By the way, this is the greatest knife ever created, or should I say, hobby knife / box cutter. This is phenomenal. Try and get that little piece popped off without damage. Huh. When this went on, it felt like it would come off easily. Guess this thing snapped together better than I even thought. Come on. There we go. So as you can see, the detail inside of those actually shows through when you do actually pop the clear parts on. So again, phenomenal detail. I honestly could gush about these clear parts for hours on end, but anyway, let's move on to the next thing. That bit in the middle is one of those clear stickers. You'd almost not realize that these aren't plastic parts because they do have that little bit of depth to them. So even under super close scrutiny, you can see that this matches with the actual clear parts so well. These are dotted absolutely all over here and add a real nice little new element. Even in on the darker parts on the thrusters around back, you've got them shining away like little pieces of stained glass. Like I mentioned, you've to add a whopping 4 of these to each of the Dragoons. And if my math serves me correctly, 8x4 is a fuck ton of little stickers. Worth it though. Like I mentioned, I did add one onto the head camera up there. The front head camera has one, the rear one does not, so you can have clear or the shiny sticker, a choice of different finishes. And these ones right here, which are under the sides of the railguns, these ones are actually in underneath the clear part. So we've got a clear part, then the sticker underneath that. But I will mention there is a little bit of detail obscured underneath that, which is like a pair of camera lenses. So that is lost by putting the sticker in between the two parts. Inside the chest vent there, you can see one of those metallic etched parts. So this is stuck on, then you put the part on over it, and there is a little bit of the gold frame underneath the etched part for a very multi-layered surface. That looks phenomenal, not to even mention all of the gold parts that actually come through the exterior armor from right in front of the cockpit right here to even these little flap segments here. So instead of having those little indents usually panel line, we actually have some gold detail coming through from underneath. Incredible. So yeah, while I'm on the aspect of stick-on detailing, it's about time to talk about the down point of this kit right here. It's a very small down point really in the grand scheme of things, and that is when it comes to these stick-on parts, that being these little jewel stickers, as well as those really cool-looking metal-etched parts. Well, the adhesive on these I find is, it's extremely wimpy. It's not really the kind of stick that you would want for, something that you are going to be handling. Now, most of these etched parts are actually held into position by a part that sticks on over it. That isn't the case with the little jewel style stickers, but I will mention that while taking a look at the etched parts on this, I noticed that around back on the thruster, the parts that are stuck on there, they're just kind of stuck to the edge of some detailing in underneath. Well, I've already lost one. It's just falling off. I don't know when it fell off, where it fell off, and if I'll ever find it again. So At least that's around back, but that makes me wonder, should you actually take the initiative to use a better adhesive with these? Something a little bit more permanent than the kind of literal sticker backing that's on these. Like, you can push them around, they're that not stuck on there. For the most part, they are held on by parts over the top of them, which will keep them from falling off. But in these situations, like the ones on the knees too, there's nothing to stop them if the adhesive fails, which it potentially could. Same with the stickers. Should you glue them on permanently yourself? I think maybe that you should. But besides this, absolutely everything aesthetically about this is absolutely incredible. It builds perfectly out of the box, and this is it with no additional effort. I am absolutely blown away. Now it's time to check out what it comes with. So now moving into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes inside of the box with the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom. Now we've got the full loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle, the sword being a pair of beam sabers, the board being a pair of beam shields, and the beam rifle being a pair of beam rifles, so it's got 2 times the usual Gundam loadout. When it comes to the hands, we've got 8 in total, that's the 6 you can see right here, as well as the 2 attached to it right now. We've got 2 pilot figures, that is Lakis and Kira, and this box also comes loaded with some nice extras as well, including a full action-based stand. We've got this multi-stand right here, which is for popping your runners into while you're building the kit, which is also really nice. It's made out of cardboard. And finally, we do have a big old sheet of water slide decals. I took a look at these in the unboxing, but I will mention, if I get the time when this review is done, I will stick some of these on, as well as panline the kit to see what it looks like. I'll pop it up on the screen right now if I actually got around to doing that, but I don't want to do that before actually handling the kit, because sometimes you may end up knocking off some of the water slides or making them peel off or something like that. So leave that till the end. So first off, when it comes to the accessories in here, we've got a grand total of 8 hands, that is 4 pairs. For the most part, these are all quite different. We've got a set of fists, widespread open hands, weapon holding hands, and those perfect grade style, fully posable, fully articulated hands. So the ones that have been on the Mecha the entire time throughout this review is the widespread open ones. These are very, very nicely posed and have one very nice additional feature on them. And that is the fact that these actually have an articulated wrist. So as well as the usual ball joint, we have a hinge as well, making these ridiculously and nicely dynamic. When it comes to swapping the hands, this definitely puts the gold in Goldilocks, because these are perfect. They're not too stiff, not too loose. The ball joint's not too big or not too small. They're absolutely perfect. Now, we'll mention the wrist articulation is only on the widespread open hands, so the fists and the weapon holding hands only have a ball joint. That is more than enough, but it is odd that these aren't hinged as well. And to make things even odder, neither are the fully articulated hands. So the weird thing is, these actually come with an articulated wrist on the runner, but for whatever reason Bandai has decided to remove that while you build it, and then you pop the back of the hand on to end up with a wide wrist joint. This is so odd. Honestly, I would suggest, and I'm not sure if this would work out or not, but I would suggest cutting the white wrist off and leaving the original gold wrist on. It would look better, but it could fuck something up, so take that with a grain of salt. That right there is what the fists look like attached. These are very, very nice. And as for the fully articulated hands, they are exactly what that says. These are fully articulated like a real hand. That means you can get whatever pose you want out of them, from this one right here, not so nice, to this one right here, being nice. The only down point of these is they take a little while to clean up, but besides that, these are a lot better than the older perfect grade style hands we would have seen in the past on the likes of the Jesta, Gym Sniper White Dingo, etc. These are a nicer, posable hand. Way less likely to fall apart. They're rock solid, rough and tough, and even though they're delicate, they're not as delicate as these kind of hands used to be. So I guess it's quick question time again. So a lot of you guys asked me about the compatibility of this with other kits. Now, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. First off, you cannot use standard striker packs with this kit because they've changed the hole in the back of it, so it's got these 2 little tabs that stop them from being attached in. Even still, this slot would be too wide. This is as wide as the Freedom 2.0's backpack is, so you're actually able to use the Master Grade Extremes backpack on the Freedom 2.0, and this does look absolutely fantastic, poses up great, and this is a potential for some really nice subtle customization. However, once again, because these 2 tabs in here, that does mean you cannot stick the Freedom 2.0's backpack onto the Master Grade Extreme without cutting those out, and that could affect the kit in future, but it would then fit. So not pure compatibility with backpacks, but a little bit. Now when it comes to the hands and the weapons, well, when you've got pre-posed hands, you can do whatever you want. So you can take a weapon off one of the other seed kits like the Strike Remaster right here, and then just align the posable hand to fit with that, get on in there, and essentially use whatever hand-holdable weapon that you want. So now moving into the weapons, and first off in here we've got a pair of beam sabers. These do exactly what they should do and not a whole lot more. I will mention that the beams that we do have in here are from all the way back in 2006, so these are probably exactly the same as what we got with the old Master Grade Strike Freedom, but this is the only thing inside of the box that is reused. The handle is nicely detailed, it's just one piece, par for the course right here, and attaching this into the hand involves using the articulated hands. We've got a flip out tab in the palm of the hands, and this just attaches onto those. Good news here, the tab is more than enough to actually hold onto these, so the fingers are really just window dressing. You just close them over it to get your pose just right, and these work out perfectly. These look good, not extreme by any means, but they do the job. In usual Gundam Seed Destiny flair, you're able to pop them end to end Darth Maul style. That's what that looks like right there, and when they're not in use, just pop them apart and slap them onto the side skirts like so. These hold on perfectly, these will not fall off, and they're able to rotate on the axis right here. So yeah, that's what they look like stored away, and onto the beam rifle. And by beam rifle, I mean 2 high-energy beam rifles. Now, these look the same at first in usual Strike Freedom fashion, but they do have a couple of differences. When it does come to the color separation on these, it's exactly the same as the mobile suit itself. These are very impressive. The level of detail on the surface is very, very nice. We do have one of those plastic stickers in underneath the clear part. On the lens, we've got some clear stickers up front. Continuing on the extreme point of this kit, we do have some gold underneath them, and these can actually combine together for the sniping mode. In order to do that, you pull out the back of one of them, flip around the back of the other, extend the 2 barrels just like so, and one slots into the other like this. As for other moving parts we've got on here, the handle can flip up like so, and we've got these little attachment point gizmos right here that can move ever so slightly on a hinge. Attaching these into the hands is both simple and effective. These hands are in essence kind of like high-grade hands. They're pre-posed, the weapons attach sandwich style, but we do have a little bit of a peg hidden away inside of these. So when you are actually putting them together, there's no balancing act of the handle while trying to get one piece of the hand attached to the other hand. It just stays in place, pop on the top, pop on the 2 hands just like so, and these are rock solid, and there is what it looks like in a pose with both of the rifles held akimbo. And the other mode, of course, is the long-range sniping mode. Now, I have to say, I am impressed by how well this kid pulls this off. There is the regular Master Grade out there, there's the real grade of this, there's even some similar kind of combinations in the different versions of the Master Grade Wing Zero Custom EW, but nothing is quite as solid as this kit right here. I did all of this combination while it was still holding onto one of the rifles. Nothing really fell off. It was super easy to do, it's easy to get into a pose, it holds the pose. This thing is an absolute pleasure to actually move parts, change parts, pose, etc. This thing's awesome. When these are not used, they can be stored on the side skirts, or should I say these can be stored as the side skirts. In order to do this, all you have to do is drop down the butt flap like so until it clicks, then you can pull back the original side skirt rail rifles out of the way like this, and then what we've got inside of the sides is a pair of these fold out holes. Pop those pegs on the side of the beam rifles into those, and these are stored handy dandy on the side. Now, I was going to say this is absolutely perfect, works out so good until I realized one of these actually slightly snapped while I was attaching it. Now, I didn't use too much force or anything, I just popped it on in there, and still that plastic did snap. So I'm not sure if this is that injection metallic plastic already starting to break down a little bit, but be careful. Brittle. Next up in here, we've got the beam shield, or should I say a pair of beam shields, so you can have 2 at once, but I'm just going to go with the 1 in this review. First off, these look very, very, very nice. We've got a nice, almost holographic, glittery effect on this. It's not just a full holographic effect, it's very speckledy, kind of giving the impression of energy or particles within the shield, which looks great. Attaching this is quite simple. You just need to pop off the red segments right here on the arms. These have full articulation, which means when the shield is attached, you've got that articulation too. And the articulation for the forearms and the shield is ridiculous. We've got a hinge inside of the actual shield physical element on the back of the forearm. We've got full rotation of the shield with the red unit segment up front. And even the part that is mounted onto the arm does have articulation too. It's able to move out and in from the arm just like so on a hinge, and can rotate all the way around the actual forearm too. So no matter what kind of pose you want to get with this shield, or if you want to keep it out of the way of armor like the shoulders, etc., you will always get what you need. Incredible. Next up in here, we do have a full included stand. Now this, in my opinion, is the best 1/100 scale stand around, and you cannot buy this separately as far as I know. This only comes included with some 1/100 scale kits. It's like the old school Master Grade style action base, except we do not have any screws in it. Now these have been going for a while. I know they came with the 1/100 Iron-Blooded Orphans kit, so these have been around for a while. So we've got extendy bit right here, locking mechanism, angle changer here, once again, locking mechanism, and yeah, this thing up here, I already mentioned the extend-a-majig, and up here then another angle shifter, once again with a locking mechanism. Be careful, it's easy to break this and make this kind of, well, not lock anymore. To attach this onto the Strike Freedom, you just attach this little adapter segment onto this like so. We've got a shifting armor panel right here, which opens up for a tab, and then the backpack just rests on into that simple as and locks into that peg. Then you just slap the backpack into the Strike Freedom just like so, and there you go. It gets the job done and gets it done absolutely perfectly. Honestly, the best 1/100 action base still to this date. And speaking of lost arts from days gone by, we actually have 1/100 scale pilot figures in here, and I feel like we haven't seen these in a long time. I know with the last Master Grade Extreme we got some, but with the Eclipse etc. I don't think that we did. What we get in here is Kira Yamato as well as Lacus Klein, and as usual the detail on these is phenomenal for something so small. I miss these. They should be included all the time with the 1/100. And speaking of pilot figures, we do have one inside of the cockpit too. It opens up just on a simple sliding mechanism just like so. There is Kira inside, and Chiro the Sheeb asks, what's the detail inside of the cockpit like? Bandai has been skimping out on the cockpit detail, and that is true here too. It's just Kira sitting on an absolute block of solid gold. A big old gold throne, no detail. So also included inside this box is the runner stand. I did mention this in the unboxing, but this is basically to pop your runners into while you're building this kit. It's a simple addition, but if Bandai included these every now and then, you'd have a whole little army of these and they would be super handy. Cool addition. Probably simple enough to make your own though. So the last equipment we have with the Strike Freedom, of course, is the Dragoons. Now these are attached around back like so, but there's a lot you can do with these before detaching them. You're able to expand the black segments of the wings just like so on a hinge, so you get even more of a widespread spread of wings. I will mention though these do feel quite delicate, be careful, and the gold underneath there, that is that plated style gold, so the plastic it's plated to is very brittle, be careful. Next up then we do have an extension gimmick to each of these. You just pull on them like so. Again, this takes a little bit of force, so be careful, but once you do, this is what you get, an even wider spread with even more gold. And finally then you're able to remove the individual Dragoons just like so by popping them off like this. But this is probably one of, if not the most disappointing aspect about this kit. This is the Master Grade Extreme after all. You expect this to be extreme in all aspects, but we've got nothing to stick these onto. Once these are removed, they're just gonna, well, hang around, be on the ground, stay in the box. Also, there is no direct attachment points on these for using them with any kind of stand or base, so there isn't one included, there isn't really one out there you can get for them, and this is just a little bit of a missed opportunity right here. We could have had an absolutely massive over-the-top extreme display, but you can't do that in here. Now speaking of extreme Strike Freedom displays, there's nothing quite like the metal build, or this right here which is a metal build knockoff kit. But there's nothing quite like that with its massive, ridiculous wings of light. Do they fit? That is the ultimate question. These are gorgeous and would look even more gorgeous slotted up there. So yeah, as you'd expect, something that's not for this kit doesn't actually fit on this kit. Now I don't know if the Master Grade Extreme Burst ones would fit on it or not, but they're not nearly as awesome as these ones are with actual molded plastic effects. Now sadly this does not attach, but imagine if it did. Now this is extreme. This would be a real extra extreme point, but Bandai didn't do it. I guess it keeps the price down a little bit, but instead of big wings, we get non-floating Dragoons. So finally now moving on to the articulation and all of that jazz. There's a lot going on here. This, without a single doubt, I will tell you right now, is the most fun kit to pose I have ever laid my hands on. It is rock solid, has so much articulation, so much tiny little aspects and bits that just slide together. According to the manual, this has the most frame-linked articulation gimmicks in the history of Master Grade, aka things that move as you move stuff. Bandai really seem to have taken it to heart that maybe a lot of people, a lot of fans have been complaining that a lot of aspects have been removed from Master Grade in recent years. The inner frames aren't as detailed as they used to be, we don't get the pilot figures the same way we used to. And for me, one of my biggest pet peeves is the fact that they removed that cool sliding upper leg mechanism. You know, the one when you bend the knee, you get that nice move to the armor. That's removed in most modern master grades. But that's not the case here. This thing's off the charts. I mean, just look at the way the hip is kicked out there. This is part of a really cool kind of moving aspect. So this is the upper section of the waist unit moving. If I slide it like that, we get moving aspects inside of the torso. These particular aspects right here, by the way, the build up here is absolutely incredible. Bandai have added these aspects here too, which is nice moving sliding parts. So those parts all fan out together. The same goes for the shoulder right here. If you grab this little segment and pull up just like so, everything moves out, including the thrusters on the shoulder. There it is in the opposite direction, gone back in. The butt flap right here, that has a sliding bit too with this part that cocks out like so. So we've almost got a little bit of the Psycho Frame-esqueness from the unicorn in this. What I complained about being once gone is right here, a nice sliding mechanism. Actually, while I'm doing this right here, the hip in here is similar in design, I think I mentioned this already, to the Freedom Gundam 2.0, but it's not as brittle or tight. But yeah, seriously, just look at that absolutely gorgeous knee. Check this out. This is the sliding mechanism on both the knee and up here. It just goes like so. That is beyond amazing. And if that wasn't cool enough, this is the greatest ankle I've ever seen. So just slapping this bad mama jam on the ground, you can actually just slide it side to side. And these little armor plates move when you move it side to side. I have never seen a leg or ankle quite this complex before. That is absolutely awe-inspiring right there. The upper leg segment here even has this kind of bit, so you can get those nice kicked in or out legs. This is phenomenal. Let's test it. Wait, not yet, there is more. So we've got thrusters around background here that actually kick out just like so when you move them. So once again, absolutely fantastic and beautiful. The railguns are super impressive as well. They just move up like so. That is what they look like. We've got a nice lens up top, which I think is new to the design on this particular version. And then we've got a sliding mechanism to get a little bit more of that beautiful, beautiful gold. So finally getting into that pose I usually do in order to test all the articulation at once. And I have to say, whoa! I am blown away by this. This may just be the best poser around. Sure, there's a lot of kits out there like the real grade God Gundam that can do all sorts of stuff. We've got the absolutely fantastic real grade Hi-Nu Gundam, which is incredible too. But this has a level of actual rock solid awesomeness, moving parts and frame-linked gimmicks that I've never seen before. This blows my mind. This is so good. This is the greatest mecha posing experience I have ever had the pleasure of going through. This thing looks incredible. There's so much nice movement in here that, like Bandai have put into other things, like the Beyond Global, which is like kind of tilting and moving little bits to make it look a little bit more humanoid in the way it robotically moves. But man, this thing is ridiculous. But anyway, that right there is it for the review. Now, I had a choice right here because if I wanted to get this video up on schedule, I could either detail it up a little bit with some of the decals and some panel lines, or do some extra poses for you. And I decided I want to see what this looks like, at least partially finished with those decals. So I haven't seen what that looks like just yet. I'm sure it's absolutely amazing. What I'm going to use is the standard thin type pan lining markers. I'm going to go with some gray and some black on this. And I'm going to use some of the decals. I'll pop up some text on the screen right now as to how well these actually worked out. Whether it was a good experience, bad experience, you can judge for yourself how it looks. And I have to say, this kit right here, without a single doubt, is Gundarium tier through and through, and the single best gunpla in existence right now. Just going through the list, this build is like nothing else. It's like the perfect grade Unleashed made smaller. Ridiculous, so fun, enjoyable, and don't worry, it's not too complex if you're a bit of a beginner. When it comes to the looks, this thing blows my mind. This is the most beautiful 1/100 scale Gundam around right now, and I'm including any bootlegs and third parties. This thing is gorgeous. All the different tones going on the surface, all the different shades of gold. This thing just looks great, and the proportions blow my mind. The accessories in here are very, very nice. They do what they need to do and nothing more. It is a little bit of a letdown that we didn't get some wings of light or maybe something to display the Dragoons with, but that is my only real gripe with this kit. It's not something wrong with it, it's something I would have liked to see with it, and maybe it might be P-Bandai in future? Probably. Lastly then, when it comes to the articulation, this will destroy any pose without a doubt and feels so good to pose. Nothing falls off. Nothing will fall out of what you put it in. Even the sliding armor gimmicks aren't that likely to get unposed on you when you're moving it around. I love this thing. It is fantastic. If you can get one and you're thinking of getting one, I highly recommend that you do. This is awesome. It's even better than the Master Grade Extreme Unicorn Gundam by quite the large margin. Mainly because something didn't die in it, like the LEDs and that. Anyway, as always, I got mine through Hobby Link Japan. If you want some gunpla of your own, the link is down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to everyone for asking some questions for me to answer in this review. And as always, I will see you next time. As always, this video and every video would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches my videos. And special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and on the channel members, including Caleb Engelhart, Global Frequency Studios, Go Little Rockstar, Gunpla UK Limited, Joe, Kill Me Inc., Lawrence Seahack, RG 59061, and Van Fawn.